Sumit, start.
Welcome to the event of REACH, the talk by Dr. Subramanian Swamy. Before we start the talk, I welcome each and everyone to this particular talk. And I would like to introduce REACH to each and everyone who is new to this to us. REACH India stands for Race, Ethnicity and Culture Heritage, with the primary aim to promote the unification of India's culture and heritage. Our objective is to strengthen India's global image and our communities across the globe and to raise awareness and culture and history by actively checking and challenging any inaccurate information. We are committed to bring about a positive change by uniting like-minded nationalists across the world. During this global pandemic, REACH members across the world are actively involved in various initiatives in their own communities, including organizing various online education sessions, cultural and religious sessions, and informative webinars with well-known personalities. During the last few months, we have added REACH chapters in different countries: India, US, Australia, Japan, UK, Dubai, and EU, and with the recent new addition of REACH chapters in Canada and New Zealand. With this very brief introduction of REACH, I would hand over the stage to Nandini ji to introduce our eminent speaker, Dr. Subramanian Swamy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sumit Mehta, and namaste, and a warm welcome to all of you who are joining us today on this series. And with this, when we talk about India Now and India Here, which is organized by REACH India, the topic for our discussion today is the desperation of Indian seculars. And we have none other than Dr. Subramanian Swamy to talk about this. Before we start the session, I would like to give a brief introduction of Swamiji. I cannot keep it brief though, because he has so much, to talk about, but I will do my best what I can. Subramanian Swamiji is an Indian politician, a Hindu nationalist and a statesman. Presently, he is serving as a member of parliament in the Rajya Sabha. Earlier, he has held many important assignments in the government of India. He was member of the Planning Commission and a cabinet minister between 94 and 96. He was the chairman of the Commission on Labour Standards and International Trade. He was born on September 15, 1939 in Mylapore in Tamil Nadu. Subramanian Swamy's father, Sitaraman, was the director of the Central Statistical Institute in Delhi and a statistical advisor to the Government of India. Before joining politics, Swamiji was a professor of mathematical economics at the IIT Delhi. He earned his bachelor's degree in mathematics from the Hindu College in Delhi and took his master's degree in statistics from the Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata. He then went on to study at the prestigious Harvard University on a full Rockefeller scholarship, where he received his PhD in economics. While he was a doctoral student at Harvard, he also attended MIT as a cross-register student and later worked at the UN Secretariat in New York City. His political career started with his involvement in the Sarvodaya movement, which was an apolitical movement, but which formed the foundation of the creation of Janata Party later. He was a long-time member of the Janata Party, serving as its president until 2013, when he then joined the Bharatiya Janata Party. He has written extensively on foreign affairs of India, dealing largely with China, Pakistan, and Israel. In 1975, Swamiji wrote a book titled Economic Growth in China and India, 1952 to 70, a comparative appraisal. He learned the Chinese, or rather the Mandarin language, in just 3 months when someone challenged him to learn this tough language to learn in a year. Till today, Swamiji is considered an authority on the Chinese economy and especially the comparative analysis of India and China. He is a true Hindu nationalist, and the credit for the recent construction and decision of Ram Mandir or Ayodhya should rightly be given to Subramanian Swamiji. Swamiji, an absolute privilege, honor, and delight to have you today with us. It's over to you to start the discussion.
Thank you, Nandini ji, and office bearers of the REACH, which has got an excellent objective to remove the lack of knowledge about our party, about our country and our religion and our culture and so on. I'll begin by saying that you give me a topic called the desperation of the Indian seculars. In India, we don't call them seculars, we call them seculars, because they don't even know the meaning of secular. And they have a phobia about anything which calls for Hindu Renaissance. Hindu Renaissance is a word used first by Sri Aurobindo, taken forward by Swami Vivekananda. And it is something which was given substance without being called Hindu Renaissance by Mahatma Gandhi, when he brought in Hindu concepts without explicitly saying so. He said he wanted Ram Rajya. He dressed like a Gyani and a Tyagi. And so, therefore, let me say, first of all, this word secularism requires definition. There's no definition of it in the Constitution of India. In 1976, Mrs. Gandhi used a brute majority plus the fact that all opposition members were in jail, except people like myself who escaped and went abroad to campaign against it. She introduced in the preamble of the Constitution, which is the holiest part of the Constitution, because this is what it starts by saying, we the people. That is, it is a statement after the freedom movement as to what we want our Constitution to be like. So that is called a basic structure of the Constitution. There she inserted, in my opinion, illegally, unconstitutionally, the word socialism and secularism. But still, nobody had a clue about secularism. In Supreme Court, a number of judgments have come which define secularism in India as not having a rigid wall separating the state and religion. They say it's a philosophy of live and let live, and if possible, help to live. So this has been the general tenor of the Supreme Court. So what is the problem? What is the desperation about? I find 5 different dimensions of their desperation, of those people who are desperate about India and its assault on secularism. The first desperation is that except for foreign Christian missionaries and jihadi-minded Muslims, no one in India thinks Hindus are communal. In other words, they are desperate that the word communal, despite constantly hammering it, they are desperate that it is not, except foreigners, jihadis and such like, no one says the Hindu religion is communal, or Hindus who prescribe to the religion are communal. So this is one thing that they are desperate about, and they go on raising this issue. In the Constitution, Hindu is defined in the Article 25 as those who are Sanatani Dharmis, Buddhists, Jains, and Sikhs. These are defined as Hindus, and no one has so far objected amongst these other recognized religions like Buddhism, Sikhism. They don't say that we don't belong to the Hindu constitutional definition. It's as a culture. So the first problem is this. The Hindus, of course, believe in Sarva Dharma Samabhava, which means all religions have the same, all religions lead to God. And this is the only religion which says that. Christians say Either you are a follower of Christ or you are possessed by the devil. Islam says either you believe in Muhammad or you are a kafir. So the only religion in the whole world which says explicitly that all religions lead to God. And therefore, fundamentally, Hindus are secular. And that is why the people who are desperate is calling themselves as great secularists have. Second thing is that in India, all minorities have, in the beginning, who came to India, were treated so well that they have publicly acknowledged this in all places. Parsis. The Islam invaded Iran, and through sheer force and butchery, they converted that whole country into Islam. Those who escaped came to India, and they have prospered in India. And when the British were leaving India, they told these Parsis, like Anglo-Indians, you're also a small community. We'll make special reservations for you in the coming Parliament of India, just as we have done for Anglo-Indians. And the Parsis said, for 1,000 years, the Hindus have looked after us. You don't have to bother. Please leave, and we'll be quite safe with the Hindus. Similarly, the Jews were persecuted all over the world. And then they came to India, and we gave them protection. And we built their synagogues. In Cochin, you can see that. In Bombay, you can see that. And when Israel was created, the one of the first resolutions passed by the Israeli parliament is, thank you, India. You're the only country in the world where Jews were not persecuted, and which is true. Everywhere else, the Jews were persecuted. So this is another aspect which bothers these people who are seculars, whom we call as seculars. The third thing is that the third desperation is that the government formed as what they call as the Hindutva government was formed because it united the Hindus. Earlier on, the Congress election tactics was divide the Hindus on caste, region, language, everything, and unite the minorities. Now, the Hindutva movement said the Varna is not birth-based. Lord Krishna says so in the Gita that it's a division of labor. If you are a Brahmin, you must be a Jnani and a Tyagi. If you are a Kshatriya, you must be in a profession which defends the country. If you are a Vaishya, you must be a person who pursues the accumulation of wealth. And if you are a Shudra, you must engage in agriculture and produce food for society. So therefore, educating people that we are one, plus modern science now says that the DNA of all Indians is the same. So we are not different races. We are not different ethnicity. We are just one, irrespective of caste, region, language, etc. So this is another aspect which frustrates them, that the movement to unite the Hindus has made it possible for a pro-Hindu party to come to power repeatedly. It's defeated the old game of dividing the Hindus and uniting the minorities. Now the minorities are also cracking up. The Shias, for example, they vote for BJP. Women who appreciate we are bringing in, banning the triple talaq, they are voting for us. So now it is uniting the Hindus and splitting the minorities. It's become like that. So I think this is a third thing. And as long as the Hindus remain united, there is no scope for these people who have got a phobia about seculars to prosper. The fourth desperation I find is that what they were calling as obscurantism, going backward, looking at Sanskrit is a dead language, so on. This kind of now they are finding that it is becoming an internationally accepted thing. Yoga. When I was a student, people used to laugh at yoga. I went to a Christian missionary school. People used to laugh at yoga. What is this twisting and turning? Today, the whole world is learning yoga. And in the United Nations, has made a yoga day. Sanskrit, dead language. Today, artificial intelligence researchers, and you can see this in the Google, say that teaching Sanskrit is the only language in which knowledge can be stored in a computer with artificial intelligence. You can go to Google and print artificial intelligence and Sanskrit, you will get the NASA's Journal of Artificial Intelligence reference. And of course, University of Houston and other places also have done this research. Now, similarly, the 6 dimensions of intelligence, not only cognitive intelligence, but emotional intelligence, moral intelligence, social intelligence, spiritual intelligence. These intelligences the Vedas have talked about, and today it has become unfashionable to talk about these various intelligences. That has also been taken from us. You will find, surprisingly, in 2009, the editor of Newsweek wrote an article, "Now we are all Hindus." You can also get this from Google. I was shocked when I saw the headline. So I read it, and what she says is, now Americans are beginning to accept Hindu customs. She gave the example of cremation. She gave the example of how stress can be controlled if you say, I have only freedom, as it says in Bhagavad Gita. I can have freedom only to pursue and act and do my work. And therefore, the reward of it is given to me by God. So the fact of the matter is, the last and fifth desperation is very, very sophisticated, advanced people that are close with this argument have now started meeting not only well-known sadhus like Ramdev, Sri Ravi Shankar, and Mahesh Yogi, and so on, but they are also going to very remote corners. You know that the Apple's founder, Steve Jobs, actually gone to Neem Karoli Baba, and Neem Karoli Baba signaled to him. He was eating an apple, and he broke off a bit of it and then threw the apple on Stephen Jobs and then did like this. And that's why the apple has this half-eaten apple as its symbol. It is Neem Karoli Baba's signal. And he went into computers. And that's how, there are a number of examples I can give to you, people who come and sit with these remote, in the villages, in the hills, sadhus living and getting it. Julia Roberts, the famous actress, she became a Hindu. She publicly declared that she and her family have become Hindu and held a ceremony and then announced it to the public in a press conference. So all these 5 things show that despite all this Hindu communalism and making us defensive and so on, is all failing. And we are heading towards what the Hindus had said, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, Aham Nija Paraveti, Karuna Lagu Chetasam, Udara Charita Namatu, Vasudeva Kutumbakam. So this is the Hinduism which makes them so desperate, because they know it's a losing battle, and we are all happy it is so. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. And I think so beautifully said and so well said. The beauty of Hinduism is that how rich it is. But the sad part is we still look at the Western world to certify how rich Hinduism is. So whether it is, the confirmation from NASA on the Ram Setu, or it is the confirmation on the chanting of Oms, or how, proud we should be of the language Sanskrit. There's so many such examples which we know, from the yoga to the Ayurveda, but we wait for the certification from the Western world to start looking deep and introspecting as to how rich really our culture is. So really, I hope that, that goes down well. And we have a lot of amazing questions coming in. So if you will bear with us, we will try to ask the first question. So the first question here, coming to us is that, we are seeing that the seculars or the secular brigade that you call, is not only getting desperate, but also getting dangerous. What happened at Shaheen Bagh was one such example. What followed at Bangalore was another such example. There have to be some strong measures taken so that we do not go through this pain anymore. How do we do that, Swamiji? What is your advice here?
Well, we have to be careful because we are not a country which is closed like China. And you know what China does to the people of Islam faith, is horrible. But it's a closed society, so there's no way you can even document it. We are an open democratic society, and we have relations with many countries. And in these countries, there are lobbies who are working very hard to make out. Now, if you read in London Economist, the latest issue on what they have written about Modi and the BJP, you'll be shocked to see how ignorant they can be in this modern world of computers and internets and so on. But so what happens is that there is a need to what ideally we would like, but they don't agree. I have challenged all these seculars to a debate, but they won't come. They will prefer somebody who is not, looks like a traditional Hindu with his Bhagwa and his tika, and then and speaks in a language which the rest of the world, will find it difficult to follow. So there is no way by which we can put them down. So when you talk about these agitations, I think we are using it essentially, and they are helping us to use it to consolidate and unify India. And that process is going on in a very, very big way. And so when the Hindus become self-confident, because for almost 60 of the 70 years, we have been brainwashed to say we are acceptable in the West. We celebrate when a Westerner gives you a compliment and so on. So I think you should not despair because of that. But the fact that you recited all these examples, I would say 20 years ago, most Indians didn't even know that this was true. How many people today know calculus invented by Bhaskaracharya and Aryabhatta? How many people know that astronomy was Aryabhatta's contribution? How many know that surgery was invented in India? So all these will have to take time before we recover from the 1,000 years we lost. 600 of Islamic rule, and 200 years of chaos, and then another 200 years of the British. And all these brainwashing that took place in all this, or the suppression that took place, we are overcoming it slowly. We even didn't know that we are one people till the DNA studies came. We didn't know that Saraswati River existed till the satellites showed it to us. We didn't know the Ram Setu is man-made till, of course, the NASA said it's a formation. It's not a natural formation, but it is a man-made formation. But our geologists have now proved that the coral rocks which make the Setu had come from the shore, so somebody brought it. Of course, they can't say who brought it, but the Ramayana story is borne out. So Ramayana, Mahabharata, these are genuine stories. Hastinapur, you can see even today, you can see Indraprasth, you can see Kurukshetra. I think what you are saying, in short, is that this is a transitional period, and you will see that very soon we will not care for certification from abroad.
Thank you, and I hope so, Swamiji. Coming now to the next question, just wanted to ask you that we recently had, the 26/11, the Black Day that we all was really, really the shocking incident of 2008. And there is a lot of saying that if Tukaram Omble did not catch Ajmal Kasab alive, a different narrative would have been given out, without a
Yes.
doubt. You have heard Shindeji's talk about it, you have heard Digvijay Singh talk about it. So this is how desperate and dirty it had become. How do you see that has changed in the last 12 years?
Well, that 2611 was originally supposed to have been blamed on the RSS, and then RSS was to be banned, and Hindu terror was to be given a new film. What happened in all those who came? I think the 11 people who came, which 10 were shot dead. All were dressed in as Hindus. Even if you the old picture, the first pictures of the person we caught, he had a kada, he had a tika, and he wanted to pass off as a Hindu. And so I think that the second thing is that there was complicity from the local administration, which was also the central administration. Now, these have not yet come out, and I don't know why the government is hesitating to bring it out. But it is a matter. There's a book written by one of the officers of the Home Ministry, RVS Money, called Hindu Terror. You should read the book and you will get the complete picture. But that doesn't mean that we can't reopen it sometime in the future. And I think probably will be difficult at this stage to be able to do it because there are so many, we are having so much problem proving that Ms. Sonia Gandhi and her son stole the National Herald entire establishment for just 50 lakhs. I mean, 5,000 crores for 50 lakhs. Of course, I'm at it. I will definitely win and send them to jail. As I did for Jayalalitha, and I did for many others, even Chidambaram. This also I'll do. But the thing is, when it comes to documentation and courts and so on, there is still a great deal to be streamlined. But don't worry, 2611 will one day explode as a plot of the Congress party with the Pakistanis to blacken the name of Hindus.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. And I think there are millions of us waiting for you to get that decision on the National Herald case and the guilty punished seriously.
Yes.
So now, coming to the question on, I think we'll deviate slightly now because you have such an impressive background on economy, geopolitics, and everything. Coming to China, looking at the recent misadventures that have been happening, do you think that India needs to give more importance to Taiwan and officially do something more than what it is doing right now?
Taiwan can't help us in fighting China, that I can tell you. I think that we should concentrate on recovering the land which China has grabbed in the last few years. I mean, they have occupied about 2,000 square kilometers of land in Ladakh, which is across the mutually agreed line of actual control. Line of actual control actually gives the whole of Aksai Chin to China at the moment. They're saying that once the negotiations are over, then we'll decide who gets what. But even the part which the Chinese had accepted is controlled by India, and therefore in India's possession, will remain in India's possession. They crossed the LAC, and in a place called Depsang, which is near the Karakoram Pass, which is very crucial for them and very crucial for us, they've occupied it, and we have to evict them. And for that, we need to prepare. So I think the question of China, whether on Hong Kong or Taiwan or Tibet, these are the questions which you should take up after administering one military defeat to China. Then I think we will get credibility. Because at the moment, Taiwan, what can you do? Americans are in total control of Taiwan. You can have good relations with them, but what is the purpose served? There is no, except that China get irritated. Besides that, there's no fundamental value that India is going to get from that. So I think we should stay away from all other disputes till we make the Chinese vacate from our territory by military means. And I hope that Narendra Modi will do it. He has gone slow on it, but I think we will. The pressure is within the party to see that gets priority, and then I think then there should be those other steps we can think of that time.
Thank you, Swamiji. And this next question is coming to you from Mr. S. Herugu. He's saying that, you have been so instrumental in fighting for the Ram temple at Ayodhya, and amazing effort, and this thing from dedication from you in getting this done. But what is worrying is that the Hindus across the political parties do not unite as Hindus, Swamiji. What can be done that the Hindus start taking pride in their own identity, even when they are in opposing political parties?
When our educational system changes its present curriculum, which is the British decided one, you will see Hindus will unite. When Lord Krishna says that the varnas are based on gunas and not on birth, explicitly says that. How many people are ready to accept it? Because it has been this has to be taught. And when I tell people that Krishna says that varna system is not based on birth, people don't believe me. Then I have to take it out and show it. It's in 3 or 4 places that Krishna said that. So, and it was so because Vishwamitra was born in a Kshatriya family. He became the Rishi of Rishis. So did Valmiki. Was born in a scheduled caste family. He became a Maharishi and wrote the Ramayana. So, these so many concepts we have. India being one country. When I was a little boy, we didn't think India was one country. It was just a quarreling view. The British came and very kindly put them all together. When in fact the British actually declared 600 kingdoms as independent countries. Sardar Patel, who sat with them, got 500 of them to merge with India. So it's going to take time. We are changing. We are trying to change the mindset of 1,000 years. And Jawaharlal Nehru and Congress and Indira Gandhi, all because of this secularism thing that they brought in as a cover to ensure that Hindus don't unite. They succeeded because of the education system. But now it is changing because of science. And people are now seeing that our Hindu tradition is something to be very proud of. And this will happen. This is not going to be, this is only a matter of time.
Rightly said, Swamiji. But you know what we are seeing, the way the history has been written and the way we have been taught history, we do not talk about the sacrifices that the Sikhs have made or the others have made. We have roads named after Aurangzeb, Akbar the Great, or the attacks by the Sufis on the Hindu sadhus. We do not know about the rich history of our sadhus. So what is worrying is that the way the history has been taught, we will expect changes. You are saying, yes, it is positive. But can the judiciary step in to make sure that we actually tell the truth about these traitors whom we call as great people, from Aurangzeb to Akbar? They need to be removed from the history books.
But somebody will have to file a petition, otherwise the judiciary can't independently do it. But judiciary did give 4 times, had given a notice to the government, when are you going to implement Uniform Civil Code? We have not done it. Okay, so, the Constitution in Article 48 says that there should be a ban, all India ban on cow slaughter. We have not done it. So what happens is that the leadership, both of Mr. Vajpayee and Mr. Modi, they want to tread softly on this. And they don't want to do it in a way which it creates upheaval. And so we will have to wait till it gets done. Ram Setu saving, the government did not do it, I did it. Ram Mandir, it was stuck 7 years without a hearing in the Supreme Court. And finally I came up with a writ petition which I filed. said that this petition, these two, both were property petitions. I said, but I have a fundamental right to pray where faith tells me Ram was born. It is on that basis that the process began, and ultimately the whole area was given to Hindus only on the question of faith, which is there in our preamble. So I think also there are so many problems the Prime Minister will be having. And then his style of functioning is a bit centralized. So therefore, it is going to take time.
Thank you, Swamiji. You have been very instrumental in Ram Temple at Ayodhya. The next people is asking is, when will we get this done with Mathura and Kashi?
Kashi will be sooner than Mathura. Because Mathura, we have to, first of all, we have to overcome one obstacle. That is, Narasimha Rao's government, besides making it easy for us to get Ram Temple, and whatever he did enabled us to take it forward. But he did one thing under the pressure of his party. That is, he enacted a law which said that except for Ram Mandir, all other religious institutions, if they stood where they are today, on 15th August 1947, they shall be permanently there. So on the 15th of August, the Jama Masjid in Varanasi or Gyanvapi was standing there. So it is now permanent. And no court can do justice on that. But I know how to strike it down. So I have prepared a petition. This is not being listed because of this corona business. But I'll get it. I'll win that case. And then, in my opinion, it will be only a matter of 2-3 years before Kashi is liberated, Gyanvyapi Kashi, and a new temple will be built. And you must appreciate the Muslim community, after losing the case in Ram Mandir case, they never made any fuss about it. They accepted it. Mm. And I think we deal with this on this legal way. Masses of the Muslims don't want quarrel. And they say, if we lose in the court, then we will yield. And we are also saying, out of the 40,000 or more temples which were demolished, 3 are crucial. Ram Mandir, Mathura, Krishna Janmabhoomi Mandir, and Kashi Vishwanath. These 3, after they are reconverted to temples, we will not raise the issue of the other 39,997.
Thank you, Swami. Coming to the next question now. With regard to the Congress party, this is the next question. Do you think that without Ahmed Patel, the Congress party will be now splitting into 2 camps, the Vadra, the Farmers Brigade, and the Rahul Gandhi Brigade? Do you think that will now happen with Ahmed Patel not being there to help the Congress party?
Well, Ahmed Patel certainly was a person who did a lot of kukarm to keep the party in position, and he was a great one at also great one in getting. Can you hear me?
Oh yes, I can. Go ahead.
And he was a great one in collecting money also. And he had connections with all the dubious connections which he used for the party's sake. And so it will be the methodology of fighting elections and winning elections of Congress party. He was the person in it. But because of this Hindu consolidation, the Congress party has been losing. Mm-hmm. And because they oppose the Ram Mandir, there's a kind of a black mark against them. And also Sonia Gandhi being foreigner, Christian, Catholic, all these things, people don't talk about it, but it's there in the subterranean discussion. So whether Ahmed Patel was staying there or not, Congress party was sliding down. And I think what you need is a Congress party without the family. That as a future. Will it split? I don't think so, because over the years, this is one of the dangers we have to see. Doesn't happen again anywhere in any other party. They have built only the family. So everybody else is a pygmy. They don't have leadership. In old days, you had Morarji Desai come out and fight Sonia Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, Chandrasekhar, so many people who were stalwarts in their own right. They came out and formed another party, and then that expanded. Then Jayaprakash Narayan came, put many people together, created Janata Party. So I think the Congress Party getting renovated and revival out of the question. But if Modi fails to deliver, as in on the economy, he has completely failed. That we all have to admit, and that's not his fault because he doesn't know anything about economics. But the people he has selected, they just don't know how to take the economy forward. And it happens. It has happened in the past too. For 40 years, we made a mess of the economy by Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi insisting on the Soviet method, Soviet model. And it was changed when Chandrasekhar and I formed a government, and then it was carried on when Narasimha Rao, in which I was part of that government. We completely changed everything, all the quotas, licenses, everything got abolished. So this is something which has worried us in the Bihar election. And we have only a majority of 3. And a total novice, the son of Lalu Yadav. He has become the largest single party. So I think right now I would perhaps think that we have to tighten our BJP from not going the Congress way in the sense of taking the public for granted.
True, and that is a very valid statement. I think there are a lot of lessons that need to be learned from the Bihar elections, undoubtedly. So, coming to this with regard to the elections, we have also recently seen the US elections. A lot of people have said, like EVMs need to be given to them so that they can have a better, fair election. But looking at the changing scenario in the political situation in the US, how likely is India to become a permanent member of the UNSC? That's a bit of a concern there, Swamiji, with getting a permanent seat in the UNSC now.
Do you know that in 1950, United States offered the vacant seat of China because Mao Zedong took over by revolution. And so Chiang Kai-shek was expelled from the UN Security Council as not being the real China. But the Americans resisted bringing a communist country into the Security Council. So they offered it to India, and India turned it down. Now, what kind of people are we? That a thing given to you, Jawaharlal Nehru has written a letter that this is an American game to put us against China. And we said, no, this seat belongs to China. And every year of the General Assembly, this subject came up, and we argued that this belongs to the People's Republic of China. So it's only now that we are talking in these terms that we are a second largest populated country and third largest in GDP. We should be in the UN Security Council with a veto. But China is not going to agree. And any of the 5 countries can exercise its veto. It has to come through some dramatic change. If India were to evict China from Ladakh, I can tell you that the UN Security Council will find some way to bring us in as the 6th member of the UN Security Council.
True.
But don't expect by nicey talks and hugging and that kind of all these atmospherics, you will ever get that seat.
True, Swamiji. We've got so many questions. I'm trying to do I'll do my best to take in as many questions I can from the diverse topics. There is another one now that is coming in which says that regarding 2611, the chief of the ISI confirmed in front of the CIA that it was an entirely Pakistan's execution. But unfortunately, the plan was hatched within India. Why can't the current government, take on the statement as a confirmation and launch a full NIA inquiry and punish the ones guilty?
Well, I have in writing told this to the Prime Minister. But when I wrote this letter, he had made a sudden stopover in Pakistan and had a lunch meeting with Nawaz Sharif, you remember.
Yes.
There is an undercurrent amongst our elite that we must try to solve our problem with Pakistan by dialogue. And I'm saying there's no way to solve the problem of Pakistan by dialogue. There's only one way to solve it. Last time in 1971, we made Pakistan into two. Now the remaining Pakistan should be made into four, because Baluchis want to be separate, Tunis wants to be separate, and the Sindhis want to be separate. So we should break it into four. Then only it will be possible. But we can't do that unless we can show to China that we can defeat them in a one-to-one battle. And therefore, all these things that you are proposing, only if you have the confidence that the world will stand with you, the Chinese will not intervene, all these factors, then only you can do what you are suggesting, which is, of course, someday we must do.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. There are a lot of other questions also. Now, coming to this, we're seeing a lot of issues of conversion and love jihad and things like that, which are really, really, we saw the recent case of Nikita Thomas, so sad and unfortunate. So
Yeah.
there is this talk of, ordinance on love jihad, especially now we're seeing the government in UP and other BJP-led governments taking a stand on this. What are your views on this, Swamiji?
Well, I don't know whether you get the Sunday Guardian in London, but it is on the website, so you can. And tomorrow, my long article is coming on love jihad. See, first of all, the bills we have passed in UP, there's no word love jihad in it at all. What we are saying is that if you induce somebody to get married, and in the process of that, you convert them to, say, Islam or any religion, then that is prosecutable. Okay, so we have such laws in other parts of India. In the Congress government in Madhya Pradesh in 65, no, 1970, 69, passed a bill which said the freedom of religion bill, where it says that any conversion which there is a complaint of a inducement will be investigated by the police authorities. And therefore, nobody can convert from one religion to another unless he has first filed an application to say that I'm doing this on my own free accord. And then only that clearance comes, then only you can convert. That is there in Madhya Pradesh, is there in Orissa, is there in Himachal. And it's not yet there now, of course, through this popular name of Love Jihad. The same freedom of religion bill has been brought in by Uttar Pradesh. But I think we need a national act to say that conversions will be, every conversion will be subject to an investigation if there is a complaint from a legitimate group or people saying that this is induced. And it's very easy to tell when it's induced, when it's not. We are not objecting to people marrying across religions, but we are saying that if that became, the marriage became a condition that you first convert, and then the government will intervene. Because I think all said and done, after we divided India into India and Pakistan, we explicitly said, and the British in their House of Parliament, the House of Commons said in their speeches that we are creating a Hindu-governed India and a Muslim-governed Pakistan. So for those Muslims who wanted to have an identity of their own, 1/3 of India was given away. So now we can't allow our Hindu majority to reduce, because we have seen where the Hindu majority dwindles, the minorities, in this particular case, the Muslims, they get very aggressive, like in Kerala. And Kerala, it's a borderline. We are, I think, 51%. Hindus are 51%. They were once upon a time 65%. And the national average is not come down. Now, the Islamic population is increasing not because of any forcible conversion. That's a very small part. What is converting is, first of all, the Muslims are poorer, so they have a larger number of children. Two, there's the illegal immigration, migration from Bangladesh, and of course now Rohingyas in some numbers in some places, and then of course the third is that where there's gross discrimination by one caste group against another caste group, there's a tendency to get respectability by converting, and that particularly true for scheduled castes. But over the years, that the percentages of people converting from scheduled caste to Muslim has gone down very substantially because of the reservations which has made a lot of educated scheduled castes. But the left wing and the socialists and the secularists, they are all propagating all the time. The free for all. And that is where the essential problem arises. But I do think that we need a freedom of information, a freedom of religion bill, where we must make sure that no conversion takes place except by mutual consent, and there's no complaint from the parents, and that it is not induced in some other way. For instance, a lot of Christians in Himachal were being converted by promising them scholarships to the United States. But the Congress government led by Veerbhadra Singh, he brought in a law which was challenged in the court. And I went and represented, I was asked by Ashok Singhal to appear in court to defend the bill, which I did, and we won. So it is now constitutional to have a freedom of religion bill. And so I think every state should have. It's rather better that the government of India does it, rather than allowing states to do it piece by piece.
True, and I think there is that urgency, to have serious radical reforms, not just with regard to conversion, but also with regard to UCC and population control to correct the wrongs. Coming to the next question, Swamiji, there is a lot of talk happening about Israel. So we have seen, how the UAE-Israel deal was done, and how other Arab countries are also likely to, get closer to this. So what are the implications now of this happening on, the international politics? Plus, how are great neighbor Pakistan and with the Turkey and Iran nexus, how are they going to react to this now, going forward?
I was the first one to raise the question seriously. There were people who had that sentiment but didn't make it seriously. Raised the question that India must have diplomatic relations with Israel. And in 1981, I was invited by the then Prime Minister Menachem Begin to visit Israel. And there was a discussion in Parliament. Mrs. Gandhi pleaded with me not to go. She said it'll create the wrong impression. I said, I'm not a member of your party. How can it create a bad impression about you and your party? She said, no, the outside world doesn't see it this way. They think that we are complicit. So I said, well, that's your problem. But the fact of the matter is that Israel is a member of the United Nations. And we don't look at countries' policies in deciding whether we have diplomatic relations or not. And we must do it. And that changed the climate. And slowly in 1990, I became minister, the senior most minister in Chandrasekhar government. And we had the first the consul general. We used to have a trade consul general in a consul in Bombay just for trading purposes, like we have for Taiwan in India. And Prime Minister asked me to bring him. I took him to Prime Minister's residence. We had dinner, and we decided that we will give full diplomatic relations. But that diplomatic relations was given by Narasimha Rao's government because of the Oslo talks, or whatever, the Scandinavian meeting of the Israeli Prime Minister and Yasser Arafat. And so it became easy to do it. And so since 1992, we have had very, very close relations with Israel. And we have benefited enormously from their knowledge of terrorism and their equipment, their information, so on. So what is the implication? Well, the more Israel is recognized, the better for India. Because they have, the Israeli parliament passed a resolution at the very beginning when it was founded in 1948, that thank you, India, you're the only country where the Jews were not persecuted. So they have this special love for India. And I don't think that, and Modi did a good thing that we went to Israel without going also to Palestine headquarters in Gaza and in the other place. So I think we have made it very clear that we regard special relations with Israel, and other countries are now coming around. That's good. The more Israel is recognized, the better for us in fighting terrorism.
Thank you, Swamiji. We'll try to take a couple of more questions. The next one, I think, is from Preetham Sarbadyaji, and the question is that India is one of the countries where we have a very high youth population.
Yeah.
But what we are seeing is, we see that a lot of the leftist brigade is what is penetrating more into the minds of the youth. How do we ensure that this does not happen and we have a more positive Hindu-based identity which gets more, which becomes more relevant basically to the youth, and we start recognizing that more and more?
You see, if I don't think it has become such a serious problem, but I will say this, that the more unemployment there's in India, the easier is for the left wing and the jihadis and so on to do it. Second, there are some kitchens where radicals are being produced. One is this Jawaharlal Nehru University. It's much less so now after we have come to power, but I think we need a major rehaul because the professors are still those who are appointed during the control of the communists. So these are the places, Hyderabad University, where the young kids come, they have fresh minds, and they don't hear any other point of view, and they then want to be part of the pack, and then these ideas start entering their heads, and then they get compromised, and then they can't leave. So that is the way it is being done. But I would say, judging by the university elections around the country, the hold of the communists and the jihadis and so on has come down very substantially in the last 6 years of BJP rule.
That's very encouraging, Swamiji. Just two more questions. The second last question to you coming out is that we are seeing platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Amazon constantly taking out accounts, like we recently saw, what happened with True Endology. Then we have seen the advertisements that came out from Tanishq, or the Eros advertisement which was coming out on the Navratris, demeaning, as such a special festival again. And of late, we are seeing Amazon, which, is a lot of Hindus buy from Amazon. We trust Amazon. And it's, we even watch movies on Amazon. Amazon has become a platform which is constantly selling products which demean our god and goddesses, and even national. Like we had a flag which was, I think, 2017, where they were selling the Indian flag on a doormat, or you have Ganesha symbols or goddesses. Now, this is really showing the insensitivity of Amazon and hurting the sentiments time and again. So in 2017, Sushma Swaraj took a very strong step as the Minister of External Affairs and very clearly said this, that I will be going ahead and cancelling the visa of Amazon employees if Amazon does not take the right steps. What is going on now that Amazon is still is still doing it, and it is really causing a lot of anguish and pain to the Hindus. How do we stop this so that the Indian government steps in now before it's too late?
I think we are, some of our people in government are, I would say, the present education, foreign affairs minister and so on. They are very sensitive to criticism in the West. They don't look at it from the point they think this is freedom of publication, it's a freedom of opinions, freedom. It's part of the basic freedoms. Okay, if Amazon is doing like this, then you counter it, you build another Amazon or equivalent of Amazon. I mean, this is the kind of arguments that are given. Recently, we closed down the chapter of the Amnesty International. How much halaga has taken place? Now that Biden has come, he'll be okay at the official level. But the organizations which have worked very hard for him to get elected, the leftist Indians, the Jihadi Muslims, the liberals, they are a very powerful group, and including, I would say, by the views expressed by the vice president, who is half Indian. See, so I think our government is going slow, perhaps thinking that let's not create an atmosphere where America also turns against us. I say, therefore, India has to develop self-confidence by doing a few things without international help. And that, I would say, I gave you the example of China. That will have a huge impact. When we are able to deal with our neighbors in such a way that nobody else can get in. And I see Nepal. I mean, now the Nepal is coming to its, coming around and changing its views, but I don't know how far they will go. But Nepal laid claim to our territory. There was a time that it nearly happened with there are two nations where I played a role informally. One was Sri Lanka, which had practically gone into the Chinese camp. And because of Rajapaksa, who at that time the Congress government they called him a criminal and so on, because he finished off the LTT. LTT was a terrorist organization, but they have patrons in England. A lot of patrons. Some of your channels put out all kinds of propaganda material against Sri Lanka. So, but I have managed to see that Indian government, goes out of its way to cultivate Sri Lanka, which Modi is doing. Same thing with Maldives. Right now, our foreign minister is there, which previously didn't used to happen. So we need all these things so that these organizations know that there is a price to pay if they do this kind of thing. A deliberate slandering, which they will not permit in their own country. But they want, they keep pushing, and then the world also has something called the deep state. You got to be cognizant of that. With all top industrialists, some of them are from Britain too. So they create a narrative through the media. What is written in the London Economist, in the front page, I think, against Modi, the latest issue, it's all rubbish. But it has been so well drafted, crafted, that anyone who is unsuspecting can get influenced by it. So those are the things where we have to put in more effort.
Rightly said, Swamiji. I'll just finish off now with just a couple of points now and a question as well for you. Looking at the crisis that the COVID created, it's not just India, it's across the world. And I think the economy across the world has taken a beating, undoubtedly. But what is worrying is the small sectors, the rural sectors, which have really, really taken this, So how do you think, what more, we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, buying more from the producers who are doing it from India. We've also removed apps like TikTok. So there has been something that has been done and India has taken lead on that. But what do we need to do more as basically for the small scale sectors? That is one. The second part to this would be a different one, which would be, with the recent happenings in Maharashtra where Arnab Goswami was arrested and Kangana Ranaut was harassed, how soon will this government collapse? So these are the last two questions. I'll let you go ahead with whatever format you want to go ahead with, Swamiji.
Well, you see, I think you must know that I'm a critic of the government's economic policy.
Yes.
I've written a book which you could get, which is pre-COVID-19, called Reset by Rupa. I'm one of those people who always publish for the Indian publishers. I never publish in foreign publishers. And Rupa has done a very good job. It's become 12th or 13th edition. It's sold very well. As far as the COVID is concerned, its impact on the economy is only to the degree. But the decline in the Indian economy has been taking place from a long time, from 2015, year after year. And in fact, the quarter before COVID began, our growth rate for the quarter, the fourth quarter of the financial year 2019-2020 was only 3%. So, we started with 8% and it's gone down to 3%. Now, what is the problem with India today? If I have to put it in a nutshell, first problem is that we have a demand problem, not a supply problem. That means there are inventories piling up in companies. Automobiles, usually, if you went to their showroom, all their parking lots are just cars and cars not getting sold. Housing, you see housing, it's now the prices are falling for the housing. So a proper economic policy is to see that somehow money gets into the hands of the people so they go and spend. And that would mean, printing notes. People, the whole printing notes, have fiscal confidence, fiscal deficit, and IMF will give you some negative report. This, that. I said, don't care for all that. You have to put money into the hands of the people. This is what happened during the American Depression. And when the American president realized it, he cured it. Roosevelt was able to cure this thing by putting money, building turnpikes, and giving money. These are public assets which they were built. So, second, our interest rates are incredible. You have to pay a minimum of 12% to get a loan, and easily 15% after all the bureaucratic hassles. Now, in America, you can get a loan for 2%. And there are a lot of people who take loans in America, come to India and give out loans or put it in under what they call as participatory notes in the stock market. So, lower the interest rate. Now, the problem is our finance minister, educated in Jawaharlal University, so you can't expect anything better. She takes the very conservative view. No, you can't allow deficit to grow big. Then how are you going to empower the people? And so I can tell you that this Indian economy can be turned around in just 2 months. And Indian economy to grow at 10% per year is no problem. I used to say that in the 70s, people used to laugh. I used to say instead of 3.5%, which is happening under the Soviet model, if we had a market economy, we can grow up to 8%. And we did. And since then, 8% was nothing big for Indian economy. Now we must grow at 10 to 12%. And that is also possible. Indians save a lot of money. Indians are not big spenders. And the households save a lot of money, and this huge savings we have, but we have to use it efficiently. So your income tax, I said abolish income tax. Then you will see people start going spending. So they say, where will you get your for the government? Where will the money come from? Print notes, because there's a demand shortage. So nothing will happen to the economy. If you print notes, you're just you're only being taking a debt against yourself. It's not some foreign country that you're borrowing from. So I think we have no clue. Prime Minister is not educated in economics at all. There's nothing harsh about that. I don't know anything about biology and zoology. Although they say in politics you should know some zoology. But so I think problem today is only one. We are following the wrong economic policy. Change it, make it promotion of the demand, lowering of interest rates, and enabling people to be not harassed and divert their money into black money, which means it goes into consumption or goes abroad and gets deposited there. Make it worthwhile to spend in India. Then I think the Indian economy will boom.
Perfect, Swamiji. The next
Okay.
one was...
Second, you had another question.
Yeah, the next one was, with what happened with Arnab Goswami and Kangana Ranaut, how soon will this government collapse? When will it collapse?
Well, I don't know whether our government wants the central government, because Sharad Pawar has a lot of friends in our government too. There is a lot of bureaucracy. The Prime Minister's PMO is headed by the Prime Minister's office is headed by a person who was for 9 years the private secretary for Mr. Pawar. So how do you can bring down the government only if it loses majority. We shouldn't have allowed Thackeray to go away. We took him too lightly. I had warned at that time also, if you go back to the newspaper, I said, no, he can stand, his cadre will stand. So at the moment, the best thing you can do is invite Thackeray to come back and make it worthwhile to come. But I think he is a man of great self-respect. I know him very well. I knew his father even better. So bringing down that government is not going to be an easy job, because the Congress is now so frightened it will never pull out. And the NCP has no other state except Maharashtra. If they are not in power in Maharashtra, they are nowhere else. So they will also stick by. And Thackeray has no other place to go.
Thank you so much, Swamiji, for this brilliant webinar. You have been fearless and you've been so witty in your answers. I will now, give it over to Indraneel to do the summary. An absolute privilege. And thank you so much to all of you who have joined us on YouTube. Over to you, Indraneel, to take the summary. Dhanyavad, Swamiji.
Never.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy. I mean, we can expect nothing but brilliance and absolute wonderful to hear you and to grasp a little bit of knowledge from whatever you say. It's a pleasure. Personally, it's a pleasure to listen to you. To summarize, you started very well with the definition of seculars, actually, with the 5 desperations of except for missionaries and jihadis. I mean, no one thinks in India, at least internally, that Hindus are communals. And Sarva Dharma Samabhava is a concept that we Hindus follow so well. The second point was about how Hindus have traditionally, for thousands of years, treated the minorities in India. For example, the Parsis and Jews who came from outside, not part of India, but we have made them a fold of Hinduism and fold of India as Hindustan, we say. The third one was we are one, irrespective of caste, race, religion, creed. We are one, and it is we have been in a concept of divide and rule. We are trying to consolidate now, and we can only go strength by strength. Fourth one was about the obscure situation that we had taught that we were backwards, and the same concepts are now being followed in the world, like yoga and Sanskrit. And that's again, I think you have been one of the pioneers who drove that for consistently for many decades to bring that forum in this world now. And the last thing is that the best example was Apple example that you gave, that Babas and what we say as people make fun of Babas and all, but we need to respect their knowledge, and we need to respect their integrity and the knowledge in the society. On the questions and in the question round, you had uh, the concept about we need to be careful that we are not a closed society as China and maybe some other dictatorial society. Is very correct that yeah, we can see a lot of things happening, but we have to follow the rule of judiciaries and the rule of law to bring things back in track. The second one was personally probably was I like very much was 2611 was one day will explode as a plot of Congress and in hand with Pakistan. And I think that's important because it's important, I think personally, that India should have a strong opposition, but India should have a strong opposition that is fighting or that is debating with the government for a stronger India, but not to weaken India. And I think that is a concept that needs to be brought back and needs to be fought. I mean, BJP was in opposition for long and was a very strong opposition, whether at the time of Vajpayee, whether at the time even after that. And that's something that I think the opposition should learn from the ruling party. We have been trying to change the mindset of 1,000 years, and it is sometimes, we especially we in the current generation get very anxious. Why is this not happening? Why is that not happening? It is something that we discuss in our group also. I mean, in fact, yesterday we had a big debate that why Modi government is not changing this, why Modi government is not changing that. But you're right, that's something which is a mindset of 1,000 years, takes some time to change. And it is not about, again, it's about democracy to change in a willful manner, that people accept the change and not forced upon them. You touched base on the laws of religious side, and we're waiting for your next petition, which we follow very closely. And no one can explain those laws better than you. It was very, very interesting to listen to you on those rules. And of course, the methodology of the fighting election of post Ahmed Patel,
Yes.
the methodology that Congress will adopt was quite interesting to see the next game plan of Congress or the dying Congress party, how they survive. UNSC seat is always a thing that we take pride of, especially living outside India, and that is a question that probably I've been asked personally many times in various forums from local Brits that why is India not part of UNSC? And yeah, I mean, it becomes a bit embarrassing to say that India was once handed that and we refused it, and now we're fighting it back. So it is a bit embarrassing at times.
Yeah.
And of course, the law on love jihad. You are right. I mean, yeah, we do want to change the law, to see the law change. But again, it is about a law. It is about judiciary. It has to be brought in a more, and it is about educating people also in the judiciary, I think, that you emphasized upon. And last but not least, the foreign affairs on China was on your, and also on our neighbors, Maldives and Sri Lanka, Nepal, and how we are tackling and what should, and your views were very, very interesting to listen. And of course, like not no no I think no discussion with you is complete without having a discussion on economy and your view on the take on Indian economy situation, which is actually very correct. I mean, Indian economy is not uh, it should have been a bit more better than it is right now. I mean, forgetting COVID as taking that extraordinary unnatural event out of the equation, should be a bit more robust and more leading the world on the economic situation, where I think US also was not in a great shape. Sometime we could have taken the lead, and possibly we should come back on that, hitting hard post COVID era. And I hope, I mean, I'm sure that your brilliance and your views will be taken into account, and we will form a good economic situation moving forward. In all, thank you, Dr. Swamy, for your wonderful
Thank you. Sincere thanks.
uh,
Thanks.
and thank you so much again.
Okay. Good night.